Hello guys, welcome to Knowledge India. I hope you are able to listen me. If you are able to hear me clearly, please let me know. If you type in the chat window, I would be able to know that who all have joined. I would request you to do that, please. Please type in the chat window. Hi Tarun, welcome. Welcome to the live session. We'll be discussing about some of the performance related aspects today. So we have Chitranjali as well. Those of you who were there with us in the last session, we had requested that I had requested that please try to bring a friend along with you. Okay, so we have a Steve Halt. Hi Steve, I suppose it is Stephen. So hi, we have Shaktivel, we have Srini, Riaz. Okay, some of you are joining the session for the first time, live session for the first time. Welcome, Stephen. Others who are joining for the first time, can you please write? Of course, I remember some of the names which are quite familiar, so that's great. It is sharp 9 p.m. here at India, and we'll give it like 2-3 minutes and then we'll get started. We'll just give it, give a few minutes for people to join and we'll get started. In the meanwhile, those of you who have joined, please type in the chat window. Also, please let me know if you are able to hear me clearly. So Riaz, where are you from? Chitranjali, do you wanna tell that where are you joining from? Shaktivel, Stephen, if you don't mind, if you wanna introduce yourself in 1 or 2 lines, please do that. Okay. So Srinivasan, if I remember correctly, you have been a regular viewer on the channel. I have seen a lot of comments from you, so that's great. Okay, thanks, Stephen. Thanks for acknowledging that. Guys, sorry to inform, but I have a bit of bad throat today, so sometimes it might the sound might not be great, so please excuse me for that. All right. So is there anyone on on the session who has who has invited a friend as well? Anybody? If you don't mind, I would request you to kindly share this URL on your Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, so that if any of your friend wants to join or is interested in learning AWS, he or she can also join this session free of cost. Tarun is saying, generally we watch your video regularly, we watch live session as well because of low internet bandwidth. Okay. Okay, so Srini, Srini, have you brought a friend? Who's that? Okay, that's nice to know, Stephen. So it is 9:03, just 2 more minutes, and then we are getting started. In today's session, we'll be talking about some of the performance improvement related aspects. We'll talk about some of the things which you need to take care while you are standing up your infrastructure on AWS, or while you are migrating your application on AWS. What are those aspects which you need to keep in mind in order to have good performance, right? So we will talk about that, and after that, as always, I would also keep some time where I can take any questions which you might have, and I'll try to answer that. All right. Okay, great. So Tarun has introduced, Stephen has introduced. Okay, great. All right. So 1 more minute and then we'll get started. So those of you who have joined us today for the first time, how did you get to know about the live session? Did you get the update from the blog, or from where did you get the details of this live session? I normally update the calendar, and the calendar is shared publicly. So if you are subscribing to the blog, or if you just add my Google Calendar to yourself, to your Google Calendar, you'd be able to see all the events which are upcoming. All right. Okay, Stephen says that is member of level edu AWS cohort, looking to take my first exam this summer. Okay, I hope it helps. Are you writing architect or sysops? Hi, ready, Veera, welcome. Fine, guys, it's the time, so we should get started. So we are talking about performance improvement aspects. So before I go ahead with this particular thing, I would highly recommend you to know about the different aspects on which you should be evaluating your architecture on AWS. What are those aspects? Those aspects are security. Those aspects, and the second one is cost optimization. Then it is reliability, and then performance improvement. So these are four important pillars based on which, or the factors on which you should always evaluate your architecture, right? Now, okay, great, Riaz. Now, yeah, we have talked about some of the other aspects in our previous live sessions. For example, we have talked about cost optimization. We have seen different aspects, that when can you make use of reservation, what about the spot instances and other stuff, right? So we did a session on that. We have also, we also have got different videos which talk about security in terms of network filtering with the help of security groups, network ACL, how to do that, right? We also do need to talk about encryption a bit. I'll be doing that. In a while. Surely, I'll be doing a video on the encryption part as well. And then, in terms of reliability, how to make sure that your environment or your architecture is always highly available. So I think last session, with live session, we talked about making your environment highly available. And the fourth pillar, which is performance, we are going to talk about that today. So first of all, while when you are putting up any architecture on AWS, if you look at it, at a I would say at a high level, you would find that your architecture consists of two different types of services. Now, first type of services are those which are managed in nature. What are the managed services? Managed services are those for which AWS I'm sorry, managed services are those for which AWS takes care of scalability, availability, and all of that stuff. You do not have to go and architect such things, for those services. For an example, if you are using S3, you do not have to worry about its scalability. You do not have to worry about its availability at all, right? In the same way, if you are using multi-AZ RDS, or if you are using DynamoDB, you do not have to worry about it's scalability. I mean, in case of RDS, yes, you don't need to, but at least the availability part is taken care, right? And on the other hand, your architecture would also have EC2 instances. It would have ELB, it would have EC2 instances. Now, within this, if you see, the ELB, Elastic Load Balancer, this is something which is a managed service. You do not have to worry about that what goes on inside an ELB, how the instances come up, if an instance goes down, what happens, how a new instance is launched in order to replace that ELB node. You don't have to worry about that, right? Whereas the EC2 instance is something which is your responsibility. It is your responsibility to decide that which EC2 instance you need to put. It is your responsibility to decide that how many instances you need to put for your application. Now that becomes very critical. It becomes very critical to try and understand that how to take that decision. Now, all of you might have seen, I'm sure you would have seen by now, that AWS offers you so many types of EC2 instances, right? You have M series, you got C series, T series, and so many series. And why this type of categorization? Because every instance family is optimized, or it is designed to excel on on few particular parameters. For example, if you take R series instances, they are gonna be high on RAM or memory. So if you are thinking to run an application like Tableau or ClickView, right, which consume a lot of memory, you need to go for such instances. If on the other end you are trying to run an application which is very compute intensive, needs a lot of CPU, you can go for C series instances. Whereas if you are running websites, general purpose, you are just running web servers, M series is going to do well for you. So you need to understand this very clearly, that what type of application you want to run, and what is the most important KPI for that particular application, whether it needs more RAM, CPU, storage, or something else, or whether it is very IO intensive. In that case, you can go for I series instances probably. So that's the first point. You should know which is the most important factor for application. Next thing is, you should avoid over provisioning and under provisioning both. Now the point is, people ask this question, that how do I know in start itself that what is the right number? How many instances should I run? So the answer is, there's no fixed answer for this, right? So what you need to do is, go ahead, do your math, start with few number of instances, whichever looks okay to you based on your calculation. But as soon as you launch, or when you start using, you should continuously monitor the instances or your application using CloudWatch or any other solution. And based on how it is behaving, how it is performing, you can go ahead and either increase the number of instances or decrease the number of instances. So it is very important to do that and really understand or come to the point that what is the right capacity for my application under given scenario. Now, AWS supports vertical and horizontal scaling both, and that's the beauty, right? You are not fixed to one configuration. It's not like you went and you had rented one particular server and you cannot increase or decrease from there. It supports vertical scaling and horizontal scaling both, and you should understand that for which in which cases you can use vertical scaling and when can you use horizontal scaling. Those of you who have already done auto scaling, there is a video which is there on auto scaling. So if you have not seen that, I recommend you that please go ahead and look at it. Now, auto scaling is a feature through which AWS can increase the number of instances or decrease the number of instances in your fleet based on the condition which you define. For example, you may go ahead and define a condition saying that if the CPU utilization increases more than 80%, it remains that way for 10 minutes, go ahead and add one instance, or go ahead and add two instances. Auto scaling group, basically your auto scaling will do this automatically when such condition is met, and you don't have to worry about it, right? Now, this is one type of scaling. This is horizontal scaling, and the term used here is called scale in and scale out. Scale out means adding the instances, and scale in means removing the instances. The other type of scaling is vertical scaling, where the number of instances are not increased or decreased, rather the same instance capacity is increased or decreased. What I'm trying to say is, let's say you have an Informatica server and that Informatica server is currently 8 CPU, 16 GB RAM, you realize that no, this is not doing great. I need to increase the capacity. You can stop that instance and change instance type, right? Do change instance type and make it 16 CPU, 32 GB RAM machine. You can do that. Now this is vertical scaling, where you have not added or removed the instances, number of instances, rather you increased or decreased the capacity on the same instance. This is vertical scaling. Remember guys, in order to do vertical scaling, you need to stop the instance and then only you can do vertical scaling. And it is also very important to understand that which application can support vertical scaling and which application can support horizontal scaling. If for example, if you have a website running, right? You have developed a web application. Now if you have designed your web application to be stateless, where you are storing all the session information in an external data store, maybe a SQL server, maybe a Dynamodb, or some other database, and you're not storing this information on your web server, you can go ahead and basically increase the number of web servers and decrease the number of web servers without affecting your application. You can do that, right? So always check that whether your application is built in that manner, whether that it can seamlessly handle the addition of instances. If it is so, it's a great thing. Please do that. Whereas some of the older applications, you take relational databases or some other application, like I was talking about Informatica, these are the things which mostly run on one big server. For such things, you'll have to go with vertical scaling. Okay, so I hope that makes some sense. If you are able to understand, please acknowledge. Hi, Sudhakar, who has joined now. Others who have joined recently, you may go ahead and say hi to all of us. I also like to do all the smiley. So I'm feeling okay. So we have Chakravarti, we have Srini, we have Ankaj. Okay, Rangesh is asking, what are we increasing or decreasing? We can increase CPU and RAM, Rangesh. So, for example, you may launch an EC2 instance, which is say M4 large, right? So it will have some X amount of CPU and RAM. Now, your team says that no, this is not working great. We want more capacity. So you can go ahead and just stop that instance, do change instance type and make it M4 2X large. You, you can even go ahead and change the family as well. I mean, maybe you can change it from M4 to C4. That is also possible. So that's vertical scaling. Okay, all right. So we have some new guys today. So I'll take a minute here and I'll ask those of you who have joined for the first time our live session, is it that the person who referred you or who suggested you to join this session, he is also there on this session right now? If so, can you please type his name? So Atif is asking which one is more preferred. Atif, as I suggested, or as I told you, it depends on the application that which one it supports. For example, if you are if you are using Informatica, you would not be able to do horizontal scaling. So it depends on the application which you are using. But if we are trying to see, of course horizontal scaling is going to be better, because that does not involve a stopping of instances, which means your application is up and running and you are just adding the instances or removing the instances. So horizontal scaling should always be preferred, but of course you need to check whether your application supports horizontal scaling or not. All right, now response to my question or my request. Anyway, fine, we'll move forward in that case. Next point is try and use managed services as much as possible. Why so? Guys, the managed services which AWS offers you, there's a lot of engineering which has gone in, in implementing those services. If you take an example of S3 itself, it is a storage which is given to you, object-based storage. You access your files via a unique key. Now the point is, if you think of implementing such a storage solution all on your on your own, excuse me. Okay, thank you, Chakravarti. Thanks for your words. All right. So, we were talking about S3. Now, the way S3 has been implemented, if somebody tries to implement it on, on their own, they'll end up doing a lot of engineering and a lot of effort. These managed services are done after, are implemented after putting a lot of effort by AWS, and also because it is done at a, at a big scale, right? So many people are using it across the world. Because it is implemented at such a big scale, you as a customer, you get the benefit of cheaper cost, right? You are able to get that service at very, very cheap rates. Also, for most of the fully managed services, you get some of the things inbuilt, which are scalability, availability, etc. So you do not have to take the headache or effort of of doing these things or taking care of these things as part of your architecture. As soon as you use a managed service, you can be sure that yes, it will perform well. For example, as we have seen in the previous sessions, within your architecture, when you put ELB in the front, right, you don't have to worry that how much ever traffic comes to your website. You don't have to worry. ELB will scale automatically, and it would be able to handle the incoming traffic, right? That's the great part, right? So try and use managed services as much as possible. It reduces the cost for you, and in addition to that, it also reduces the administration effort. You do not have to put one more human or one more engineer in order to do things. Rather, these are, things are automated, and you have APIs available, so you can script also a lot of stuff. Moving ahead, try and use caching wherever possible. Trust me, guys, caching can help you a lot. So I've written two things here: CloudFront and Elasticache. In the last session, also last session, we had talked about Elasticache. Elasticache is an in-memory database. You have two engines available there, Memcached and Redis. Now, where do you put this? You put this between your application and your relational databases, right? Because your relational databases store the information or data on disk, right, on the secondary disk, basically. On, it could be SSD, it could be HDD, but it is the, the secondary storage. Whereas Elasticache is going to keep everything. It is going to cache everything in memory, basically in RAM. So anything which you tend to read again and again from the relational database, you read it once and store it in the Elasticache, right? And hereafter, whenever your application needs the data, you don't go to RDS, rather you just get it from the Elasticache itself, right? So the result is going to be really fast, and you are saving a lot of time and effort, which you could have wasted by going to RDS. Really sorry guys for all the noise, but I could not help it. Next thing is CloudFront. Now, CloudFront is the CDN service from AWS. Uh, there are two tutorials on the channel already which explain you how can you go ahead and use CloudFront with your static assets and with your dynamic assets as well. It is very important to understand that cost-wise, CloudFront helps you a lot, right? If you go ahead and compare the data out charges from AWS when data is leaving via CloudFront in comparison to when data is leaving via S3 in comparison to when data is leaving via EC2, you will find that it is lowest when data leaves via CloudFront. So it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and use CloudFront as the mechanism or basically the layer as the outermost layer of your application, so that any data which leaves your application or leaves AWS leaves via CloudFront. Also, it gives you the benefit that it would leave from one of the edge locations and that edge location is going to be very, very near to your user, right? So I mean, you might be running your website out of North Virginia, you have hosted all your ELB and servers and S3 in North Virginia, but you have customers coming from Japan, Australia, UK, India, everywhere, right? So if you are serving the content via CloudFront, things would get cached at different edge locations. In addition to that, the so you basically save on the data out charges. Also, you save on the times because things are cached at different edge locations, and hence it does not go to the source again and again. So I hope you understand that how CloudFront and Elasticache can help. Let me see some of the comments which are there on the right hand side. So Chakravarti says that I was searching for CloudFront and came to know your live session today. Have to say your demo is very good. Thank you, Chakravarti. Atif did a random search on CFT. Okay. I am not sure what is meant by CFT. Okay. Mohammed Tahor is saying first time found by search random videos on AWS. Okay, so caching is not suitable for DynamoDB. Well, it depends. I would say that you need not do caching in case of DynamoDB, Rangesh, because DynamoDB in itself, though it stores things on solid state drives, but it in itself is good enough to give you single digit millisecond latency in terms of read. So DynamoDB is designed itself in such a manner that it would be able to provide you reads really, really fast. So mostly people use in-memory solutions, or basically the Elasticache between RDS and their applications. Rajesh is asking, can you explain something on auto-scaling? Rajesh, I have put a very detailed tutorial on auto-scaling. It is there on the channel. I would request you to please see that and write if you have any doubts after seeing that in the comment section there. So Mohammed Taur is asking, can you tell which DevOps tools I should learn for AWS? If you are totally new, my suggestion would be that first understand the different AWS terminology and different services, and then you can go ahead and of course you can learn code commit, code deploy, and all of those services. Mohammed Tahur. Atif is saying, do we need to mention the implementation of caching in our application program? If you are going to use it, Atif, yes, you should mention it in your architecture. Yes, that's important because later on developers are going to consider that, and accordingly they will write. So yes, you should write about it. Veera is asking, what are parameters we consider while designing the disaster recovery RTO and PTO? Uh, I have heard about RTO and RPO, sorry, not PTO. But okay, RTO and RPO are basically recovery time objective and recovery point objective. So it's very simple, guys, right? Whenever a disaster happens, you need to give you need to basically give business two timings. RTO is recovery time objective. How much time are you gonna take from the time of disaster in order to bring back things in working shape? How much time do you take? That's your RTO. And when you bring back things to working shape, till how much time like you will be able to bring the data back? Let's take an example. Let's say a disaster happens at 11 a.m., right? And you take 30 minutes to bring back the system live. Then 30 minutes is your RTO. And when system comes back, you say that I'll be able to bring all the data till 1 hour back, right? So that will be your RPO. That if disaster happened at 11 o'clock, you are ensuring that till 10 o'clock, all the data would be back in 30 minutes. So you're basically in 30 minutes, you are bringing back things. So that's your RTO. And you are taking 60 minutes, or basically 60 minutes is the time for which data would be lost, or anything before 60 minutes, everything would be retained, right? So 60 minutes is your RPO. Till what point you are able to bring back things, that's your RPO. Now there are different models. I'm not going to talk about it today, but there are different models to quickly understand. You can have like two sites completely active, which is going to be costlier, but you can have two sites completely active if you want very high availability. You can also have setups where your main site is working all the time, and on the on your DR side you have just your database running. And if your primary site goes down, you write a script based on which your instances are turned on, or basically started on the DR side, and your DB instance is also increased in size. So you can do such models based on the RTO and RPO requirements, and of course the amount of cost which you are ready to put. Anil Kumar Desai, if in production, if you are using high config servers like this, how can we utilize lower instances like T2 or T3 for dev environment? Is there any limitation? There's no limitation. You can surely use these smaller servers for the for the dev environment. There's no problem with that. You can do that. Just that make look at its performance. If a lot of people are hitting your dev server itself, and if the server is not performing great, then you might need to upgrade it. So just look at it, but there's no restriction as such. So there's a comment from, this is Vasu. Usually following your videos, first time attending live session. Really thank you much, doing such a great job for all of us. Thank you, Vasu. Thank you. Which programming language I should learn for AWS? Any one which you want. I mean, it could be Java, Python, C#. AWS as such supports around 10 languages, and SDK, SDK is available for all such 10 languages roughly. So any one out of that, if you are interested in doing in going to the developer track, please go ahead and pick any of those language and learn that. Sai Kumar, what makes the EC2 instance reboot often without manual intervention? Is it be the CPU usage or memory? How to trace that? Sai Kumar, I'm not sure why is that happening with you. It's not that it happens always, right? It's not a always happening thing. You can probably look at the system logs, or maybe raise a ticket with support if that is happening with some of your instances. Raise a ticket with support and they should be able to help you. It doesn't just keep happening always. Thank you, Atif. Thanks for acknowledging. I'm having 3 instances which are different in configuration based on IP and properties. If we associate them to auto scaling group, is there any option to provision with the same config rather than bare machine? I'm not very clear, Sai Kumar, what you're asking, but ideally, if you want the same configuration on all the machines in an auto scaling group, the way you should do is you should go ahead and create a launch configuration, and define the instance type which you want. Pass this launch configuration to your auto scaling group, and then all the instances would be of the same type. There's a tutorial on this already on the channel. Please look at it. And if you are still not clear, you can come back to me and I'll try to help you. Hi, how to implement disaster recovery on Lambda microservices, but no EC2 instances architecture. Now, in this question, the point is when you're talking about Lambda, you don't have to manage any EC2 instances, right? So all you can think is what happens if a particular Lambda function doesn't run. So there can be two cases. One is that your Lambda function failed. So you can always look at the result of a Lambda function and based on that do something else in case it failed. The other case could be if a complete region goes down. That could be the only thing, in which case you need to think of running things in the other region. The good part, if you are doing things with Lambda and things like API gateway within one region, is that you don't have to manage EC2 instances. So you don't have to worry about infrastructure going down unless until a complete region goes down. The chances are really less that your Lambda function or the infrastructure which Lambda is using would go down. I think that helps. That should help. Suggest me a project which I can practice and utilize most of AWS services. Thank you for the advice. Mohammed Taur, I would request you to go ahead and look at the blog. Our blog, it is there mentioned on the YouTube channel. So go ahead and look at the blog. There is one exercise which is good amount. If you are starting now, get started with that. And I'm also putting few more exercises very soon in this week. So you can, if you subscribe to the blog, you'll be able to get all of that as well. Please do that. Okay, so I think I've taken all the comments which were there on the right hand side. I'll quickly talk about a few more things and then we'll go ahead. What you see on the left hand side is a comparison between different types of storage which are available on AWS. So you might have seen instance store, you know about EBS, S3 and Glacier. These are different types of storage, guys, right? As you typically know, instance store and EBS are the disks which are attached to your EC2 instances, right? Yes. So these are the disks. These are block level, block level devices or block level storage. Whereas your S3 is object level storage, and then your Glacier is used for archiving purposes. Now, if you look at the comparison between them, the sizes are given that how much can be the smallest size and the biggest size in terms of when you want to write and read and write at very fast speed, your instance store is the one which works the best, and then your EBS, and in the same way going forward. In terms of cost, their comparison is given and other stuff as well. Please take a minute and just look at this slide, and if you find any doubt here, you can write in the chat window. I'll try to take that. So tech edu, okay. You are asking that how can you implement load balancing. Now understand that in case of API gateway or the way API gateway and Lambda, if you are using these two in combination, the way they work is that for every request a Lambda function would be invoked, right? So it's like you just need to worry about what would be your maximum limit on the Lambda function, meaning how many Lambda functions can you run in parallel at the same time. I think if you have done that, then it's fine. It's not like there are just 2 or 3 instances running and you have to load balance between them, right? It doesn't work that way. Rather, every Lambda function just comes up and does its work and goes away. So I'm not sure that what more load balancing you are looking at in that case. Sai Kumar is asking, I want to change EBS volume to general purpose to IOPS. Will I be able to? Yes, you can surely do that, Sai Kumar. There is a detailed tutorial on this as well. I would request you to look at it, where I've explained that what are the different methods to change to change the EBS type. So you can surely do that. Now it is really simple. You can just go to your volume, do a right click, modify, and change whatever you want. Earlier you had to create a snapshot to do these things. Okay, so Tarun is asking what is vCPU, eCPU in EC2. Guys, okay, what AWS did was that uh, because they use different types of processors, and different processors of course have different ratings in terms of what is their gigahertz, right? So all of that is different across different instances. They came up with a terminology or their own unit called virtual CPU, and they said that one virtual CPU can be considered roughly around performance of 1 gigahertz or so. So they normalize the below part, and when you see as one virtual CPU, you can consider that you will get roughly around 1 gigahertz of performance there. So that's your Anil Kumar Desai, EFS is missing in this slide. Yes, it is missing. That's right. But okay, so where does EFS come? EFS is also a storage on which you can do comparatively faster read write. If I have to put EFS, it will come between EBS and S3. Good observation, Anil. I was thinking that, but the point is, okay, quickly about EFS. EFS can be attached to multiple EC2 instances, right? Within the same region, they can be there in different availability zones, though, and you can attach your EFS. It's just like your network file system. Okay, Rangesh is asking everything being virtual in AWS like firewall, router, etc. What about the RAMs like magnetic, IOPS, and SSD? Hope they are physical hardware and they are not, or they are not. Okay, the magnetic IOPS and SSD, these are storage disks, right? I mean, these are secondary storage. These are not RAM. So don't get confused there. And of course, uh, uh, when you talk about EBS, it's like storage area network. So there are a lot of storage area available at one place, and when you create a volume, an EBS volume, an area is carved out of that big storage thing, and that is mounted, or that is basically linked with your EC2 instance, right? So though you see it as one volume, but it's not like that volume is just separately somewhere. Rather, it is carved out from a from a big hive, I would say, and you are getting access to that much. Rangesh. Okay, thank you, Sai Kumar. Bikram Das, which tool will you suggest for infrastructure as code? Bikram is asking. Okay, Bikram, I would suggest, if you are concentrating on AWS, get started with CloudFormation. CloudFormation can help you a lot when it comes to in uh, uh, setting up the infrastructure on AWS. CloudFormation supports most of the AWS services, and it should be very easy for you to basically automate your infrastructure provisioning. So I would suggest that. And if you further want to do more things, for example, not only creation of your services, but you also want to do a lot of things into your EC2 instances in an automated manner, you can also look at some configuration management tools like Chef, etc. You can also use OpsWorks in case of AWS. Okay. Moving next is Veera Reddy is asking what is a storage gateway. So a storage gateway, what is a storage gateway? First of all, Mohammed Taur is asking, please share your blog link. Uh, um, okay, I can do that. Let me just pick it up. So here it is. So guys, if you go to my YouTube channel, on the YouTube channel, you see here, this is the blog link. You can just copy this and I'll just paste it here. Here it is, guys. Go ahead and please subscribe to this so that you are always updated any new post which I do there. Also, at the top, there is a link called why this particular blog. There I've explained how to go ahead and add the calendar to your schedule. So please go ahead and do that. Okay, coming to Veera's question, that what is storage gateway? So with storage gateway, AWS gives a solution to to the customers who have on-premises servers, and what they want to achieve is that they currently do not want to migrate all their servers to AWS, but rather they want a solution through which they can store their data on cloud, so that when I say on cloud, I mean on AWS, so that they are able to get benefited from the reliability and scalability which AWS offers, right? So in order to provide this, storage gateway is a solution through which you will be able to basically mount or use this particular service, and from your on-premises network you basically write to this particular disk or drive, I would say, and anything which is written here is copied to AWS either on S3 or EBS in the way you configure your storage gateway. All right. But EFS is only for Linux-based instances usage. Am I right? Yes, Trini, that is right. Currently, EFS is not available for Windows instances. Though if somebody wants to use a shared file system, there are some of the commercial solutions also available on AWS Marketplace. So if there is a pressing need of Windows and network file system, people can look at some of the commercial solutions available as well on the AWS Marketplace. Tarun is asking, can we expect any upcoming videos regarding Amazon SDK and some coding stuff on AWS? Yes, Tarun, you can expect that. I'll do that. I'll do that. In a while. I'll put that in my queue. Please explain about endpoint in AWS. So endpoints are nothing but basically the points which receives your request, right? So if you look at different services, if you just search for AWS endpoints, you will land to a page where you have different just give me a minute. If I go here and I'll search for AWS endpoints, sorry, so you'll be able to see that based on different services, there will be different endpoints available. For few services, it would be in every region. Let us go ahead and click on Amazon EC2. I want to go to Amazon EC2 and look at its endpoint. So see, for Amazon EC2, for every region, there's an endpoint. Now, if you want to write a CLI command, or you want to do an API call, you need to hit the correct endpoint, right? For example, you want to start an EC2 instance, which is there in Oregon. So you need to hit this particular endpoint. You cannot be hitting an endpoint of North Virginia or Mumbai in order to stop an instance which is there in Oregon region. So that's the importance of endpoints. If you remember, when we do CLI, we configure the region. When we do AWS configure, we configure the region. And the region code which we give, based on that, the endpoints automatically get created or basically are framed before the API, before that CLI call happens, right? So that's about the endpoints, guys. Guys, are you able to follow? Are you able to understand? If you're able to understand, please acknowledge. Please let me know. And may I request all of you to kindly share this URL if you have not on your social websites, like Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you like. I would also request you, if you are getting benefited, please, I'm there on LinkedIn as well. If you just search for Knowledge India, you'll be able to get it. Please go ahead and write your experience. I would be happy to get any testimonial, or if you tag me, even that is great. On the right hand side, just a suggestion, can we freeze a question and answer till the main session gets over, because the session is getting dragged into a lot of other topics. Just a request, I'm okay if you and other folks are okay. Yeah, that's right, Rangesh, but okay, I think in terms of talking about performance, I just had these two things. So now I'll be taking more questions. So those of you who have questions, please go ahead and put it. Hi, mobile app is currently using Lamb stack and planning to move to AWS cloud with a lot of Lambda based backend processing. What is the best what is the best framework to move front end processing from Lamb stack? Uh, if you want to change your complete architecture to APIs basically, then you can use API and Lambda, and you can make it work, right? Instead of having EC2 instances, write your application in such a manner that everything happens with an API call. For example, inserting a record, reading a record from DB, everything should be an API call, and you basically make an API call. It goes to the API gateway. At the backend, a Lambda function gets invoked. It interacts with the database and gives back the result, right? And then your your client side code, it might be written in JavaScript, gets the response in probably in JSON format, parses it, and shows on the screen. You can probably change the architecture in that way. Tech edu. Thank you, Veera. Thanks. Next is Sai Kumar. Seems to be yes because of underlying host, but I didn't get any event alert for that instance. Okay. Thanks a lot, Dev NV. I suppose that is Vasu. Kadirvel, how to add AD to IAM? Okay, that's really brief. Okay. Oh, great. You wrote that down below. Active Directory to AWS IAM. So what I am able to understand is that you wanna probably use one of the users in Active Directory into IAM. So the wave to that is by doing federation. What you should do is you should you should first validate your user against your Active Directory, right? And once the user is validated, you need to go ahead and assume an IAM role, and whatever you have allowed in that particular role, this guy would be able to do only that much. Now the point here to understand is that the user, let's say Kadir Vail is an employee of company A. So Kadir Vail logs in with company A credentials and is validated against Active Directory of company A. Once he's validated, he'll go ahead and assume a role, let's say role 1, and in role 1 he has got 10 permissions. So he'll be able to do only those 10 actions, right? So in this case, though you have defined the authorization part on AWS side, but the authentication is still happening with your Active Directory. And let's say tomorrow Kadir will gets a very good hike and leaves company A and goes to company B. Company A is just gonna disable Kadir Vail's account, and that's it. He will not be able to log in anymore. So that makes it easier. Please let me know if it is understandable. Others, if you have any question, please go ahead and type. We have got 10 minutes more. Oh, Sai Kumar, that is a very, very broad question. How to migrate existing infra on premises or data center into AWS cloud? You need to do a lot of study, profile your applications, and you will have to figure out that which EC2 instance or which EC2 instance type is going to be suitable to run your applications. Then you go ahead and stand up those applications. Stand up those EC2 instances and put your application there. There is also an option that you can go ahead and create images of your on-premises servers, and you can import those images on AWS, right? Using the image import export tool, you can import those images and you can just deploy those images on an EC2 instance. So those would be two ways. One is that of course you create EC2 instances and then take your application and deploy there. Another is just create the image, complete image of the operating system, and then put it or import that image on AWS site. Is that the volume size in the table differs based on the disk type, such as SDD up to 16 terabyte, HDD? Uh, Okay, in the table, what they have written or what they have shown is irrespective of the type in EBS. Okay, so in EBS you have magnetic, you have got SSD, you have got HDD as well, but the maximum is 16 terabyte, which is for SSD and HDD. So that is what they have shown as 16 terabyte there in the table. Okay, enabling enhanced networking and other stuff which you are asking, Sai Kumar. I think I'll have to put a video for that. Just talking about it in 2-3 minutes is not gonna help. But for quickly for everybody to understand, there are few instances which are big sized instances for which AWS supports enhanced networking. Once you enable that, I think the network performance goes up to 100 Mbps if I'm right. I'm not quite sure about the number, I'm sorry, but I can do a separate video, or I can write a quick blog post on that. So remain subscribed to the blog, guys. I request all of you to go ahead and subscribe to the blog. When you subscribe to the blog, you get an email. You will have to go ahead and verify that email. Only then you will receive the updates. Many of you subscribe to it, but you never went ahead and verified, and hence you're not getting any updates. Tech edu, there is no such restriction. You can go ahead and use any of those frameworks on AWS. There's no restriction there. Srinivasan, I assume instance store will be only HTTP types. No, that's not correct, Srini. For most of the instance types, instance store is SSD actually. Only for D series instances, it is HDD. Yep. Can I store or download created AMIs from AWS into my local machine or into any server for later use? This is possible with few, with few if-else clauses. So you'll have to read a bit more on the. I mean, it's possible, but with few clauses. Please read about the VM import export tool on the documentation, and you will be clear with that. What about Rangesh, Stephen? Are you guys still there with us? No questions from you people. Veera, whatever we are accessing AWS dashboard, where it is provisioned. Are you talking about the region? If you're talking about region, it is the primary is there, not is there in the North Virginia. How can we increase the bandwidth of an internet gateway? You cannot, Chakravarti, because internet gateway is a completely managed service, and you cannot have more than one internet gateway attached to your VPC. And whatever bandwidth is required, it expands internally according to that. So you cannot do anything there basically. VPN and direct connect. So direct connect is it is a dedicated line which is there from your on-premises data center to the AWS data center. It is a separate line which is provisioned, physical line. Whereas in case of VPN, it is just a tunnel which is created over the existing internet connection. That's the basic difference. There's a tutorial on VPN. Please go ahead and watch that, and it should help. Rangesh is asking, if I choose Apache and I install it on a high-end EC2 instance, how much load or traffic or hits can it take? How many Apaches we would need for 1,000, 1 lakh million hits? Okay, there is no. I'm sorry, but I do not have a fixed number for this, right? Because these things depend on a lot of factors. There could be a simple website where 1 lakh hits could be served by some hardware configuration, and there could be another website which is more complex. In order to serve 1 lakh or 1 million hits, you need more configuration available there. So normally the way people do such things is that they basically host an environment, they load their application, basically write test cases, and virtually create that many hits on their website, and then they basically record using CloudWatch that how was the performance, and based on that they can increase or decrease stuff. Rangesh, thank you. Sai Kumar, Tech Edu, which is preferred between CloudFormation and OpsWorks to manage services. Uh, Both of them, they have different functionalities actually. So CloudFormation it is more in terms of creating the infrastructure on AWS side, whereas OpsWorks can help you with the ongoing deployment and configuration management as well. So based on your need, you can choose between the two. Is load balancer is another instance that I can get charged for that? Yes, there is a charge for load balancer. You can look at its charges. It is given on the website. Load balancer is not free. You are charged for it. Okay, so I think I need to plug this in. In the meanwhile, we have few more minutes. So if you have any questions, I would request you to type it quickly, and then we will go ahead and end the session in next few minutes, guys. So we have taken a lot of questions today. If your questions are answered, I have request that you please go ahead and write about it either on Facebook or LinkedIn. That way it is going to help me, and I would be able to conduct more live sessions in the coming time. So that's my request to you. Please spread the word. Probably tag the Facebook page, or go ahead and tag me in Twitter or in the LinkedIn. Uh, all our Facebook and social handles are available on the blog. If you go to the blog, at the top you will find it all. So I request you to kindly go ahead and do some favor. Please spread the word. Talk to your friends. Share these videos. Please do that help. So when my website is becoming very slow, how to narrow down the issue, whether it is EC2 or RDS or need web server. So first thing what you can do, Rangesh, is you can look at the CPU utilization of your web server and your RDS. You should also be logging in that what is the response time from database, right? There are multiple things as part of your application which you would be logging in, and you will have to go and basically look at all of them and see which is creating the bottleneck. That's the only way. And there is just not one single way through which you can point out the issue. Rather, you should be monitoring at different levels and then look at those numbers and find out that which one is acting as the bottleneck. Vasu, there is a video for CloudFormation already. Other than that, I wouldn't be able to prepare videos on JSON. There is a lot of content on that already on internet, so you can learn how to write JSON from there. For the CloudFormation part, there is a tutorial already in place. Is there any way to find the volume type after I log into the Windows instance? Srini, I think from the Windows instance, you will only be able to see its size. You will not be able to find out whether it is an SSD or it is an HDD. So I don't think so. Because these are the properties which are at AWS level, right? It is not at OS level. Please let me know if you understood. Vineet is asking, Vineet R, I did not hear from you at all before this. Vineet, welcome. AWS Direct Connect Data Communications ISO solutions enhances the performance. Okay. I think you're telling that yes, it enhances the performance. It comes with a cost. If you if you are doing a lot of data transfer and you want a dedicated bandwidth and very fixed SLAs, you can go for Direct Connect. In different geographies around the world, you have different service providers who can come and do the Direct Connect for you. Is DynamoDB a good choice for mobile app database? It depends. It depends on the fact that how fast do you want the read responses. If you want it really fast, yes, DynamoDB is better than other relational databases. Oh, is it? Guys, Sachin has just told that audio is very poor. I think I'm there on a really good connection today. Others, can you please let me know how did you find it? Are you able to hear me well? I tried to ask this thing earlier as well. Are you able to hear me properly, guys? Please let me know. Okay, so okay, all right. Thanks, guys, for informing. Sachin, I think you need to check your connection probably. And for the video, guys, I would request that you should go ahead and forcibly increase the resolution in the YouTube video. So after that, it becomes better. Sometimes, depending on multiple factors, it will go ahead and reduce the resolution. So you can go ahead and force it to 720p, and after that, it should be fine. So Bikram and Tarun and Kadir, they have Rangesh. Thanks for acknowledging. Thanks a lot. Any other questions, guys? Closing. We can take probably one more question, and after that, we are closing. I request you to please go ahead and share this URL on your channel, and I would look forward for some testimonials, please. If you got benefited, we actually took a lot of questions today. Oh my God. Let's see. Wow. All right. I hope this helps. And we will be catching up again next weekend, and I hope to bring a lot more videos this week, and plus exercises. So if you want to receive update about all those exercises, I highly recommend you go ahead and please subscribe to the blog so that you get to know about them. And guys, when you are finding any problem with an exercise or with a video or with a concept, please write it on that page. I have requested you to write something good for this initiative on the do you like it page, but on do you like it page I'm getting requests in order to solve doubts. So guys, if you like it, please write there, and if you have any doubts, please write it on the relevant page. It might help your other friends as well. Rangesh is asking, can you give me any reference for web server architecture? Basically, for AWS architect would be having a good understanding on the web server and the load which it can take, right? Once again, right, the amount of load which an instance can take depends on the logic which is running there, Rangesh. So whether you are using Apache web server or you are using IIS, the logic which you are running there basically would decide that how much loaded your server would be. So I think that's how it is. If you want to look at a three-tier architecture, I think I'll try to write about it. I'm sure I have covered it in some places already, but probably I can write about it. If you just Google three-tier architecture, you will have a web tier and app tier and then a DB tier. Tarun Reddy is asking, while practicing your case study VPC video, I'm getting this error. One or more security groups configured in the launch configuration are not linked to the VPCs configured in the auto scaling group. Tarun, I am not sure if I answered your query, but I answered this query uh, somewhere. Uh, the problem there is this is a glitch in AWS UI. So while you are launching, while you're creating launch configuration, and then you go ahead and create auto scaling group, in the launch configuration UI, when you reach the security group level, or basically that step, the security group which gets created is always in the default VPC, and that's the mistake there. So if you are creating for a non-default, if you are creating for a custom VPC, a VPC for which you have created, my suggestion would be first go ahead and create a security group in that VPC based on your requirement, and then when you are on the security group step of your launch configuration, just choose that particular security group instead of trying to create a new security group. Just choose that security group and it would work fine. Can we load data from DynamoDB to Redshift? Yes, you can. Thank you very much for the useful session and mix of queries. Thank you. Thanks, Srini. Can we have more assignments, sir? Yes, surely, Rangesh. I could not do it last week because of my bad health, which is still there. But in this week, surely you guys are gonna receive assignments. So please look at the blog. So just subscribe to it, and you will receive it in your mailbox. So I'm gonna put it surely in this week, guys. All right, with that, I think I'll close this session. Thanks to all of you for your time. If you think that there was some good amount of effort and time investment in this, please take few minutes to go ahead and like this video and also share it on your social platforms. Also, please go ahead and write a testimonial if you think that it was worth. I will see you again next weekend with one other live session, and would try to help and clarify your doubts. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.